There's a town in Montana where the gallows are still standing, where a corrupt sheriff was hanged by vigilantes in 1864, where visitors report seeing a man in a black coat walking Main Street at dusk, then vanishing into thin air. This is Bannack, Montana, Montana's first territorial capital, now one of the most haunted ghost towns in America. 3,000 people once lived here. They came for gold. They stayed for justice, frontier justice delivered at the end of a rope. July 28, 1862, a prospector named John White was panning along Grasshopper Creek in a remote corner of the northern Rockies when his pan filled with gold. Montana's first gold rush began that day. The camp they built was called Bannack, and it grew so fast that locals called it a town born overnight. Within months, thousands poured into the valley. Tents covered the hillsides. Cabins appeared daily. By 1863, Bannack's population exceeded 3,000 people, packed so densely into the narrow valley that claims and shacks stretched 14 miles along Grasshopper Creek. Locals called it the 14-mile city. The placer deposits were exceptionally rich. Men pulled fortunes from creek gravel with nothing but pans and sluices. Money flowed, saloons multiplied, so did crime. On May 26, 1864, Bannack was designated the first capital of Montana Territory. The wild mining camp had become the seat of government. But legitimacy was an illusion. Bannack had a sheriff. His name was Henry Plummer. Handsome, charismatic, elected to bring law to a lawless town. But travelers kept disappearing on the roads around Bannack. Stowed coaches were robbed, gold shipments vanished. Bodies turned up in the wilderness, shot, stripped, left for the wolves. Whispers began. What if the man sworn to protect the town was actually leading the gang of murderers? A secret organization called the Innocents was supposedly robbing and killing throughout the territory, and Henry Plummer was allegedly their leader, using his position as sheriff to plan robberies, warn of gold shipments, and eliminate witnesses. The citizens had enough. If the law was corrupt, they'd create their own justice. The Montana Vigilantes formed in late 1863. They had no courts, no trials, just rope and gallows. On January 10, 1864, they came for Sheriff Henry Plummer. He begged for his life, pleaded for a trial, offered to leave Montana forever. The Vigilantes refused. They hanged him at his own gallows, the same structure he'd supposedly built to execute his victims. 2 of his alleged gang members died beside him. But was Henry Plummer actually guilty? To this day, historians debate. Some say he was Montana's most notorious criminal. Others say he was an innocent man lynched by a mob. And some say his ghost never left. In 1863, the same year Bannack peaked, an even richer gold strike was made at Alder Gulch, 70 miles away. Money, people, and power drained away almost overnight. In February 1865, just 8 months after becoming territorial capital, Bannack lost its status to Virginia City. The richest placer deposits were already worked out. Miners followed the gold to new strikes, businesses closed, families left. Bannack tried to survive on smaller-scale lode mining. In the 1990s, large dredging operations tore up Grasshopper Creek, bringing brief revival, but physically destroying the landscape and undermining buildings. By the 1930s, most businesses were gone. The post office closed in 1938. The school struggled on with just a handful of students until the early 1950s. And then, silence. In 1954, Montana made Bannack a state park, preserving over 50 original buildings in arrested decay, stabilized but not restored, frozen in time. But something else was preserved too, the ghosts. Visitors report seeing a man in a black coat and wide-brimmed hat walking Main Street at dusk. When approached, he vanishes. Many believe it's Henry Plummer, still patrolling his town. At the Hotel Mead, guests report seeing a girl in a blue dress in the windows, Dorothy Dunn, who allegedly drowned near town in 1916. Children especially claim to see her, playing in rooms that have been empty for decades. Disembodied voices echo through the general store. Doors slam shut with no one near them. Shadowy figures appear around the gallows, then dissolve into thin air. Ghost tour operators call Bannack one of Montana's most actively haunted locations. Investigators bring equipment, cameras, recorders, and they capture something. Is it real? Psychological? The power of suggestion in an atmospheric place? Or are Henry Plummer and his victims still here, replaying their tragedy forever? Bannack, Montana, was Montana's first gold rush capital, a place of fortune and violence, justice and murder, boom and bust, all compressed into a few frantic years. Today, it stands as one of the best-preserved ghost towns in the American West. Over 50 buildings, intact interiors, a complete snapshot of frontier mining life. But walk those streets at twilight. Listen to the wind through empty buildings. Watch the shadows near the gallows. And ask yourself, is Henry Plummer innocent or guilty? Hero or villain? And does his spirit still walk Bannack streets, seeking the justice he never received? Bannack, Montana, where the ghosts still hang.
Bannack's story asks an uncomfortable question. What happens when the people sworn to protect us become the very criminals we fear? And can a wrong ever be made right, even in death? Thank you so much for watching this journey into Montana's most haunted ghost town. If this story of vigilante justice, unsolved mysteries, and restless spirits captivated you, please hit that like button. It helps share these incredible historical tales with more people. And don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss our explorations of haunted places, ghost towns, and the dark stories that history tried to bury. Drop a comment below. Do you think Henry Plummer was guilty or innocent? Have you visited Bannack and experienced anything paranormal? And what ghost town should we explore next? Share your stories and suggestions. I read every single comment. Thanks again for being here. Until next time, remember that not all ghosts rattle chains. Some just walk the streets, waiting for justice that will never come.